A few years ago when I started podcasting, I used to do it exclusively in my podcast studio. Guests would come over, we'd have our podcast session, and then it would be over and I would produce it from there. A little later than that, I decided to take my podcast onto the road, onto some of the bigger cycling events, and I've decided to create my own podcast travel studio, which is all held together in this bag. Stay with us and I'll show you what's inside. Thank you for joining the show. My name is Brian Coe of Veloworthy. If you like this show, go ahead and like and subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications. Let's get into it. First of all, this is the in-case camera backpack. I've taken it all over and it's designed specifically for camera gear, and you can customize it any way you want to. It's a traditional backpack style, and this rear part opens up. The cool thing that I like about it is it's small enough that you can carry it on a plane, and on some of the longer flights you can actually tuck it underneath the seats, and then for your shorter sort of point-to-point flights, you can go ahead and put it in the overhead bin, which means you never ever have to check it. So the main compartment of this is this big zippered case right here. And this is where you're gonna store most of your stuff. I'll show you what's in mine and we'll get into it. So first of all, without tipping it over, you can see all that it carries. What you can't see is the camera that's being recorded on right now, as well as the recorder, which we're gonna get into. This is the video camera that I use to do photos, as well as some of the videos that I create for YouTube. This is the CanonM50 Mirrorless camera. It's got a nice LCD out front that you can reverse, and then it also has this nice kit lens that you can use as well. It uses up to 4K video at 60 frames a second, and it's pretty handy. It's not too heavy, it's pretty light, it's easy to travel with, and it has the nice little convenient settings right at the top. This is actually attached to what's called a switch pod. It's a very convenient tripod. You can see that it's pretty stable, and it's held together by this little adjustable head, but you can take this switch pod and turn it like this and hold it at the bottom for doing traveling, vlogging, that sort of thing. So it's a really convenient thing. I mainly use it to try to record, there we go, stable video, and that's all with the Canon M50 mirrorless camera. I carry a battery pack. This can charge a dead phone up to 5 times at full charge, and I carry multiples of these. And also everything I own, I label. I put my own sticker on, so that way if I do lose it, I can go ahead and identify whose it is. So that's the key thing. I also carry these batteries that go for the Canon M50 that I'm recording on. I carry at least 3 with me, not counting the one that's already in the camera. These cameras are notorious for losing battery strength, and the last thing you want to do is be out of battery during a crucial moment at a bike race. This is the lens that goes in addition to the kit lens. It's a Canon macro lens, and I use this for some photography, but I generally keep it in the bag just in case. The kit lens is good enough for me. I'm not a traditional photographer by any means. Here I have, and as you can see on my lapel, I have the Rode Wireless Go. I always carry a couple of sets of these. These are wireless microphones, and I color coded them. Green is usually for one person, and then as you can see, red on the other side is for somebody else. What's cool is these have a pretty big range, and if you get creative enough, you can attach these to someone who's actually riding a bike if you wanted to get a real sort of embedded experience with recording people. So I've got a couple of these. They come with a really cool case that's made out of this neoprene that is pretty durable. It's held together with Velcro. And then I also carry some wired lav mics. Here's another one by Rode in here, and if your recorder doesn't work, you can always hook these up to your phone and record from an app directly from your phone in case your recorder goes out. I have a couple of those. I have a ton of these USB Type-C wires that are great for charging. There's always going to be a need for these types of wires, and they're really hard to come by, especially if you're traveling internationally. Again, more. And another lav mic with a windsock there. Oftentimes when we're recording outdoors, and you want to cut down on the wind noise, and that's super important. We got a ton of microphones. Again, another one. This one is my go-to shotgun mic. This attaches to the Zoom H6 recorder. And what's cool about it is it has a pretty amazing range. A lot of times when you're interviewing cyclists and other people that don't want to get a microphone shoved in their face, you can keep a little bit of distance. You can also catch a little bit of the ambient noise, especially if you want to get the tone or the atmosphere of being at a live event. So I've got one of these. This plugs directly on the Zoom H6. It's got a nice extension. And then speaking of that, is I have a classic, this is a pistol grip, and it mounts on an undermount to like a tripod mount. I put this on my recorder as well, and you can also mount it to your camera as well. And what's cool is you can use it to record with one hand. Obviously it's non-threatening, hopefully, and then it expands into a mini tripod if you want to set it on the ground. That's come in handy for me when we're in situations, I'm talking to someone and they want to just sit down at a table. I have this pistol grip set up underneath my recorder, and then I open it up, set it down, and then I'm able to engage with the guest. This is a Rode mic that goes on top of the camera. So say I don't want to use the recorder at all, and I just want to use the Canon M50 doing video and then capturing the audio from that. This is great. It doesn't need any batteries. It plugs in with a little RCA jack directly into the camera, and the audio is pretty good. It's pretty decent, especially if you're not more than just a couple of feet away, and it has this big, fluffy, furry windsock on it, especially for some of those more windy days. But I use this on occasion. It's always good to have. This is nice polka dot little strap for the camera. What's cool is in these, it has little pockets for extra batteries. And again, if you're running around, it's good to have this hanging around you on your neck, or sort of like a side sling. And then you can carry extra batteries on you if you need to, and also just toss your camera behind you. I've actually taken this, I covered a bike event and carried my camera on me just like this in a sling, and was able to get some really cool video from that event. And I always carry multiple earbuds in case you lose them. These are notorious for getting lost. These are just a standard Apple earbuds. More wires. This is just a USB Type-C wire. You never know what you're going to need to charge, and you have to charge many things. These are windsocks for the Rode microphone that I have. They're notorious for falling off, and the cool thing is these block out a lot of wind noise. It's actually pretty windy right now, and the audios come in pretty clear, so it's always good to have some of these. Batteries, AA. There's a saying in the military that says 2 is 1 and 1 is none, which means you always have to have backups. In my case, I tend to run through batteries like crazy. I have an assortment of AA and AAA, which are the main batteries that I use to power up my recorder, among other things. This is actually for my gimbal, which we're gonna get into. I keep some coins in there to undo the screws, since a screwdriver sometimes is impractical to carry. Some pennies, a nickel, and then more wires and more cables in there. I've got hair ties along with these wires that can plug directly into the Zoom H6, and some XLR adapters that help with sound. I always carry hair ties with me because it's good at just winding things up and keeping them secure. They work just as good as duct tape or anything else. And me having 2 girls, it's always abundant in my household to have a bunch of hair ties, so I carry those with me. I use old sunglass bags that are great for carrying cables if you don't like clutter in here. I can just feel some extra batteries in this one. This one is good for always carrying extra cables. You can even have them color coded so you know what is what. And I'm a very visual person, so I like to color code things. Again, more wires for USB charging, USB Type-C charging, FireWire charging on this one. I have a splitter for a headphone. Some people who I interview like to hear themselves, and I can plug this in directly and then use a set of headphones for me and then for the guest as well. So this is a nice little splitter that does the job. So that's everything in the main compartment. So as you can see, this compartment is now empty. And the cool thing is, you can use these dividers to customize it any way you want to. The main thing that I keep in the center, and I'm gonna have to reach to get this, is the Zoom H6 recorder. This recorder is the main thing that I use to record audio. And as you can see, I'm recording right now wirelessly with this Rode Wireless Go microphone receiver, and that is on my lapel. And you can hook up to 4 different XLR microphones, and if you want to even do more, there is a adapter that you can hook up more microphones on the top of that. It's got this handy little recorder. My voice is being recorded right now, and this is the main thing that I use to record podcasts, interviews, basically everything. These things don't come cheap, but this is actually my second one. I destroyed the first one, and hopefully this second one is going to last me a little bit longer. Okay, in this compartment right here, this is the flaps. We'll go ahead and open these up. We've got 2 zippers here and a Velcro pocket. Memory cards. I have a couple extra memory cards here. I have a memory card in the recorder. I have a memory card in the Canon M50 as well, plus 2 in case they get full, but I usually am pretty good when it comes to transferring my data. Speaking of transferring, all that data goes onto this. It is a My Passport Ultra 2 terabyte portable hard drive. It's not as durable as some of those other hard drives, but it's really compact. Again, I label everything with my Veloworthy branding, and this holds 2 terabytes. Once I have raw footage of either video, photo, or audio, it goes right here in a folder, and then I label it from whatever event that happens to be. iPhone charger wire. Never know when you're going to need one of those. Down here, lens cap cover. This is a little brush for your camera lens if you want to brush it away. There's a lot of dirt that gets on, especially when you're at gravel events or mountain bike events and you don't want your camera to get too dirty. All right, that concludes the main compartment, and we haven't even gotten through the entire backpack yet. All right, in the front compartment, we have a main pocket here, a couple smaller pockets here. Let's go ahead and get into it. In this smaller pocket, I carry my GoPro 8. This is a great camera for image stability. They seem to be everywhere. They're really good for action photos as well as action video. And if you're moving it side to side, up and down, it has really good stabilization and a big fat LCD on the back. Battery life is good, but I always carry a USB-C charger. That's how it charges, and you never know when you're going to need it. Sometimes it's good to carry a GoPro on you. This one is really good. I have a second battery in case the first battery fails. This one is pretty cool. It has a little LED light indicator of how much battery is left. This is good for, again, about 5 full charges of 5 separate dead phones. It's never died on me before, and I've always kept it charged. This is a backup to my original one, and it's by Rav Power. Extra camera battery. This is for the Canon M50. It actually belongs in the strap, but it just happens to be there. This always should be fully charged. I always carry nutrition on me in the form of a JoJe bar. You never know where you're going to be and where you're going to end up. And oftentimes podcasters, like cyclists, bonk. They're on their feet all day, they're walking, they're carrying all this gear, and they sometimes forget about themselves. And it's always good to carry a little bit of nutrition on you. So whether you're on the bike or just walking around, take some food with you. You never know when you're going to need it, and you can always stuff a few bars here and there just as a backup for yourself. This is sort of the main compartment of the backpack, and I carry my gimbal with me. This is a Zhiyun Weebill gimbal. It's not fully expanded. It actually uses this handle, and then you can use it to mount your Canon camera on, and then hold it to get some of those cinematic shots. Hold it up, hold it down. It's really good at image stabilization, really good for those sort of slow-mo shots, those cinematic shots that you want to use. You can also have the grip this way on the bottom if you want to hold it in a more traditional way like this. And then the legs also fan out if you want to just set it down, which is really cool. One thing that I like about the gimbal is that it's excellent for taking really cool, steady, slow motion B-roll shots. It looks very cinematic, and you can take something as simple as people just walking down the street, or especially at different cycling events and different things like that. You can pan the camera, you can move it, and you can hold it in a way where the shot is extremely steady because the gimbal stabilizes everything. And then if you record in slow motion at a high frame rate, you get this amazing B-roll type of footage. And then you can use that footage to create your bigger videos to tell the story. Okay, I've got field book of field notes that I need to write down. Again, I put my branding on everything. If I turn to a random page, I was interviewing someone at SBT Gravel. Looks like Amity Rockwell. She won Dirty Kanza, and I took notes on everything she was saying so I can put them in the show notes for a future podcast. So always carry field notes, some extra pens. You always run out of pens. I even have business cards that I need to pass out that have my name and contact information, veloworthy.com. And then in the main compartment here, these are the XLR microphone wires that you can use to hook up to your Zoom H6. One plugs into the Zoom, the other one plugs into a field mic. A lot of times, people like to hold a mic in their hand. I have a couple of these. These are Audio-Technica ATR 220s, and this simply plugs in. A guest can have it in their hand and they can hold it. I've also held it in more formal sit-down events where you want to have a mic almost like you're hosting something. And sometimes guests like to have this just to hang on to, so it gives them a little bit of control for the mic as well. I have not one, but two of these. And these are not battery powered. These plug directly into your Zoom H6. These are actually the microphone stands. So these stands, the microphones plug into. And then this comes out like that. This is a really stable mount, and you can angle it any way you want towards the guest, and you can do everything hands-free at that point. And then these fold up really nicely. There's an extra sleeve right here. If you ever want to take your laptop, it can hold up to a 15-inch laptop, but mine's a 13, and I usually don't take it with me in the field. I either leave it back at the hotel or at the house or wherever I'm staying. That way I can upload everything onto that computer. It has a side pocket here. I always carry stickers to give out to little kids and enthusiasts and different people. I always carry stickers around me. The goal is to pack them in there and then empty it out when I'm at every event. So if you see these stickers around, that's the Veloworthy logo. This is the backpack, which is now empty. It's much lighter, but as you can tell, it holds quite a bit of stuff. So if you're interested in doing your own podcast travel setup, you don't have to necessarily have all of this. In fact, if you want to get started, which many people are, here's what I recommend. Your phone. The easiest thing you can do is carry your phone and some sort of plug-in microphone, and that's it. You download a voice record app or use the voice memo app from your phone, and that should be plenty. This actually came in handy when I was interviewing Geraint Thomas, Tour de France winner, and I didn't have any gear, and I just held my phone out like this, and it works in a pinch. Start with that, and once you've exhausted that, then sort of build your way out in terms of all the gear that you need. It doesn't come cheap, it comes at a price. Some say audio gear is more expensive than bike gear. I beg to differ. I have a lot of bike gear as well. So anyway, there you have it. If you have any questions, hit me up at veloworthy.com or at Veloworthy on Instagram. And in the meantime, stay Veloworthy.